Hello, my friends, and welcome to 5 for the Future for this week, the week of March 18th. Let's jump into the 5 topics that stood out to me recently as signals of change that could impact your small business. I'll summarize the story and share why you should care. Are you ready to get started? Here are our 5 topics for this week. Flex-tirement, anti-diversity, AI replacing humans, immigration and the economy, and power supply and demand. Let's begin with our story number 1, flex-tirement. What is that? Did you know that over 4 million Americans will reach age 65 this year? But many of them won't be retiring, whether that's because they need the income or maybe retirement sounds boring. Instead, these boomers are looking for flex-tirement, meaning the ability to semi-retire, perhaps moving from full-time to part-time or changes in hours or work schedules. This can allow small businesses like yours to pass along the deep knowledge of those long-time employees to newer ones without a strict set cutoff date. For some, it's about a little extra income. For others, it's about feeling valued or keeping their brain active. But over half of those over 65 are living on incomes of less than $30,000 a year, which makes the job even more vital to them. As a result, the fastest growing demographic in the workforce now is people over the age of 75. So what does this mean for you and your small business? Consider the possibility of offering a flex-tirement option to your older employees. Even if you plan to replace them with someone less senior or with software or automation, take advantage of their years of experience, but at a lower salary and hours. Flexibility isn't just for Gen Z. What might the future look like? Imagine a future where you are actively recruiting for employees at the local senior center. Research shows that a diverse workforce benefits all employees and the bottom line, so be open to offering flexible hours to all generations of employees and reap the benefits in the future. Oh, and when you're ready to retire, maybe consider moving to Europe. Norway, Switzerland, and Iceland were ranked the top 3 countries for retirement, and US, number 20. All right, moving on to story number 2, anti-diversity. What is it? Well, following the Supreme Court decision to overturn race-conscious college admissions last year, we're seeing a wave of change related to diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workforce as well. Specifically, grants and government programs designed to help minority small businesses are being deemed unconstitutional. The logic is that businesses owned by minorities or women are not actually at a disadvantage. Or more specifically, any federal aid based on social disadvantage presumptions are built on a house of cards, and I quote. At companies like Tesla, references to attracting a pool of diverse and exceptional candidates have disappeared from the policies and procedures. Lawsuits are being filed for any programs that attempt to seek out a diversity of candidates for hiring. And rumors abound that the issues like the door panel flying off the Boeing Alaska Airlines plane are due to mechanics being diverse rather than experienced. It terrifies me that that's even a thought someone would have. So what does this mean for you and your small business? As billionaire Mark Cuban explained, good businesses look where others don't to find the employees that will put your business in the best possible position to succeed. Extending your hiring search to include a greater diversity of candidates gives you access to a larger pool of qualified potential employees, which is to your advantage. What might the future look like? Only 1/3 of senior and executive level women are satisfied with their company's efforts to address racial equity. And Black employees believe the best way to support them is to support DEI and affirmative action. We don't want to imagine a future where we go back to nepotism as the main method of hiring employees. This not only limits the potential of women and people of color, but it also works to limit the potential of our businesses as well. Instead, consider a future where your workforce is very diverse by age, gender, ethnicity, color, and more. Research shows that this benefits the whole team and the company's bottom line as well. And with that, let's move on to our story number 3, AI replacing humans? What is it? A recent report from the US State Department mentions that AI could, and I quote, pose an extinction-level threat to the human species, according to interviews with top AI executives. But really, that's just, worst case. I mean, AI will probably become uncontrollable, or maybe it will just make jobs obsolete like CEOs. What's that, you say? Apparently, half of CEOs surveyed said that most or all of their work should be replaced by artificial intelligence. So what the heck do CEOs do all day anyway? And one AI startup is working on creating a universal employee named Emma, or Enterprise Machine Assistant, that will be able to learn a variety of jobs and offer a variety of personas like customer support, employee assistant, sales support, and so on. So what does this mean for you and your small business? According to one recent study, the first tasks to be absorbed by AI and bots are likely writing, translation, and customer service. That could bode well for some small businesses who can save money on these services and provide a level of support typically reserved for larger companies with bigger budgets. Entrepreneurs, innovators, and creative types are safe for now, at least until the robot apocalypse. What might the future look like? Are we topping utopian or dystopian future? Because it could go either way. As a futurist, I like to envision a positive future where technology can provide us with the tools we need to better compete with businesses even bigger than we are. It can take over the mundane tasks for a business owner, recruiting, bookkeeping, data entry, and so forth, and leave the business owner to focus on new ways to grow the business. If you want to live in this positive version of the future, then it's important to start embracing new technology offerings right here in the present. And moving on to story number 4, immigration and the economy. What is it? According to the Census Bureau, immigration was the main factor slowing or reversing population losses in large metros in the Northeast and Midwest after an exodus during the pandemic. These immigrants have also benefited the economy, growing the labor force and increasing the tax base, according to the Wall Street Journal. As a matter of fact, the expectation is that GDP will be greater by about $7 trillion from 2023 to 2034 due to the increase in labor force from immigrants. However, an influx of poorly educated immigrants could also lower average wages or even slow down automation investments that would ultimately be necessary to grow. As more developed regions see their populations decline, this will continue to be a bigger problem. So what does this mean for you and your small business? This issue ties back to our previous topic, starting with flex-tirement. The population is aging and AI isn't ready to take over all our jobs. Automation might diminish the most dangerous, boring, and repetitive jobs, but will there be enough people in the workforce to help your small business grow in the future? That might depend on where you live and what's going on with immigration. So what might the future look like? Regions like Latin America and Africa have the youngest population by far. It's hard to imagine a future where countries don't recognize the value of these young potential immigrants and how they can add to a declining workforce. Immigrants make up an increasingly larger percentage of the US and UK and European workforces each year. So will our future be more global with a wide diversity of employees from across the world, maybe with AI making the language barrier easier to manage? Or will it become more automated with large population unemployed in the non-developed areas of the world? Or maybe both. All right, now our final story, number 5, power supply and demand. What is it? According to Elon Musk and many others, electricity shortages will be the next big bottleneck in the supply chain. Why, in this modern day, are we worried about shortages and brownouts? Blame technology, a growth in US-based manufacturing, demand for EV chargers, and the huge tech power suck of AI and data centers are all putting a surge on our power, and the demand is moving to be greater than the supply. And that's before we even address climate change and the increase in weather swings, which also brings an increase in demand for energy. Demand for power could drive these data centers and AI firms to expand into more rural areas where there is more supply than demand, which could be a benefit for rural areas looking for growth, assuming they don't mind giving up lots of their power grid. And this increase in power consumption is delaying the closure of coal plants in several states and likely slowing any planned transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources. So what does this mean for you and your small business? Could this impact you? Let's see. Does your business depend on electricity at all? Already, Texas is seeing shortages in the summer, and Georgia demand for industrial power is projected to be 17 times higher in the next decade. Arizona projects it will be out of capacity by 2030. Big companies are being encouraged to build their own power plants. I'm pretty sure your small business can't exactly handle that. You could start a side gig as a financial transmission rights, or FTR, trader, predicting when power grids will be overloaded and more expensive and somehow trading on the price shifts. Warning though, successful congestion traders typically have a PhD in electrical engineering to fully understand the complexities of power plant maintenance and grid spike predictions. So what might the future look like? Again, our future is what we make of it. If we don't want to live in a future where there are rolling blackouts and the highest bidder, aka big corporations, get the top priority for power, then we need to take action to live in a better future now. Ideally, one where we have new sources of clean energy production and an updated electrical infrastructure. Maybe an expansion of nuclear power and, fingers crossed, some progress on fusion power. At a minimum, perhaps prepare for the future with higher utility bills and maybe a good old-fashioned gas-powered generator just to be safe. All right, finally, a bonus story this week. How rich is too rich? Well, apparently it's not enough to merely have a mega yacht these days. So how do you stand out from your super rich peers? With a 699-foot vessel that is both a yacht and a floating docking station for your 347-foot detachable airship or blimp. Both the yacht and the airship offer luxurious guest cabins for your wannabe hangers-on joining you on your voyage. I'll share a link to the info on this mega yacht in the comments if you're curious. And that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. I hope these 5 topics and my take on them get you thinking about how these signals of change could ultimately impact your business. Join me again in 2 weeks, and thanks again.